All right, it's 1 o'clock and the game is already gone in first quarter. I was looking at a little bit. Actually, I'm like watching 4 games at the same time. I can't keep jumping. So, but anyway, uh, my perspective for the exercise today, I thought it went very, very well compared to the other ones that listening to in past years. I thought it went very well. The only comment I have to say was, well, at first, we kind of got the block situation straightened out. And so, because at first I think, I'm not sure, we were referring to blocks as line 3, line 4. We want to be consistent and call it a block because it is a block of information. So we want to stick with that, but we all got on the same page calling it blocks. And we all got on this routine of not going to the next block until you heard a receipt copy from net control. I know Gary was doing block 5 and 6 at the same time. You might want to wait, Gary, and just do one block at a time. Other thing that I noticed was we were better this year doing preferencing block 7 with this is an exercise and ending block 7 with this is an exercise. But some of the folks we didn't have that on there. Also, outstanding for Southeast Southeast districts jumping into the pool for the message identifiers. I don't know how much you guys had time to practice with that, but I have to say thumbs up, very good job on just jumping in there and doing that. There was a little confusion. Some of the message identifiers only had like 2 zeros. So we corrected that to make it 001 or for the first message and so forth. I know that everybody is on TV, so I'm sure my display is probably a little jerky. So I think the way the bandwidth is kind of screwy today. So just have patience on that. Let's see. When we get down to the block 7 with the messages, if you can kind of put those block 7 into bullet forms, like maybe 4 bullets in block 7, and each bullet may be comprising maybe 5 or 6 numbers or 5 or 6 words, and then pausing after each bullet to wait for a copy before proceeding on to the next bullet in that block 7. I know when we first started out, it was almost like you were reading a paragraph, and it's very, very, very difficult to keep writing with as you're reading the paragraph. So if we can kind of get to using a bullet type format for block 7 and phrasing of 5 or 6 words would be, I think that would work better and sending messages. But after we got rolling, we were, the time sent for sending and receiving messages was very quick. So I have to say very good on that. Susan was with me and she was writing down. Any comments on that, Susan? On reception of the messages? You're muted. If you're trying to speak, you're muted. Nope, you're still muted. You're still muted, Susan. No, okay. The other thing, let me see.
Susan, I'm sorry, press the space bar.
Okay. There
we go.
All right. No, I thought it went.
Oh, there's that bandwidth again. Bandwidth problem. Let's see. There was I just had it in my mind. Oh well. Let's see. Oh, the other thing was everybody was excellent coupling your ham call sign with your sending with your tactical call sign. I thought that went very, very well. Doing with that. Let's see. Anybody have any comments?
I do.
Yeah, let's go with Gary first.
Okay, so Greg and then Allegra and I had a little talk about box 8. And I talked to Andy about that. And Andy says that the message I'm sending out should be a separate piece of paper from the message I'm receiving.
Yes.
Wow, that'd be a lot of work to copy the whole thing, though.
Yep.
Yeah, so what I figured out I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sticky note on it when I send it. So I'll copy everything from that I received, but I'll put a sticky note on top. And if I have time later to make duplicates, I will. But I'm just going to put a sticky note on there, the time and date, and my signature, etc. And that'll mean that way I can look through the messages and see which ones I've sent. I'll also put the priority on there, probably on the sticky note.
Okay, Nancy, you're muted. You're muted, Nancy.
There he goes. Okay, no, I was listening actually at the time that you had that discussion with Gary. And the way I understood it was that I'm on my communication log, I'm indicating that message number that I just took down and who it's from. That's like the block 8 from them. And then when I fill out my 213, I'm putting my name at the bottom of it because I'm the one sending it off to you. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I won't be making 2 full copies of 213s. I've indicated on the log that I received this message from, whoever it came from, in this case, the net control for Fairmount. And then, so I've got their message number and I have their name. And then I fill out this thing.
No, that's incorrect. You're receiving a 213, so you need to fill out a 213 from whoever is sending it to you.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your received message. And so that if by chance somebody says, can you show me the 213 that you received from whatever neighborhood? Well, if you didn't fill one out and all you have is the one that you sent on, you don't have that paper copy. So you have to fill out 2, one received in and one transmit out. Yeah, it's a paper trail. It follows it all the way through. So you have to have that, and then FEMA will collect all those things so that they can see, yep, it went from the neighborhood. There's a neighborhood copy from the radio team leader. Here is the one received into the neighborhood ham, and his going on, and the neighborhood ham is going out. Here it is, and so forth. So yes.
But wouldn't they get that if they've collected all the forms? They'd have the original one, they'd have the next one, they'd have the next one, and they'd have all 3. So you want them to have like multiple copies at every place, so they'd end up with 6 copies?
They're going to have a 213. They're going to have a 213 from the originator, and then they're going to have a 213 showing that it was received at this location, and a 213 showing that it was sent out from that location with a different time, receive time, and a different transmit time on that going out on there. On the log, radio log is going to show different times. Going to show a time coming in. The time receipt and the time transmit is going to be different, but it's going to be on there. A lot of times people will put on when a transmitted message, they will call it a service cross. They'll put like a service cross on there, and on there is like a date and time and initial of the individual that sent it out, showing the time that they actually sent it on a message on that. So, but we're not going to go into service cross criteria on the message.
So
So-
Andy, if I've received a message and that when they transferred the message to me, it said that the time of that message was 9:40.
Right.
Are you
And that,
saying that I'm transcribing it? If I'm
Uh-huh.
receiving it at 9:45, I would change that block 6 to 9:45?
no.
So
That,
where do I write down the time received? Because I may not send it to the EOC for 5 minutes or so.
you're
10
gonna put it,
minutes.
you'll put it on your radio log.
Well,
on
I
your-
already, yes, I knew that.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you were talking about on the 213.
No. I'm talking about on the radio log, yes. And so that, and then your receipt, your block 8 is gonna have the individual that originated that message. So what, if you don't do another 213, what are you gonna do? Erase that individual's name and cross it out and put your name on the block 8? No, we don't do that. You have to do another one. And before we get to Don is, okay, Don, go ahead. I'll get the
Okay,
mic.
yeah, the time, I was wondering about block 6. So that's the originator's time
Yes,
that
Yes.
stays with the message all the way through.
all the
Okay,
way through. Yes, all the way through.
Okay. And as far as block 8 is concerned, you know, if I'm pressed for time, I think I'll just write a 8B and put mine on there underneath the original, the one I got, just to save time, so I don't have to copy everything twice. And it's a shortcut, I know, but hopefully I'll have the documentation to show who sent it to me and when I sent it.
I got you. Okay, Susan's got her hand up on this topic. Go ahead, Susan.
So I was helping Andy today and we were acting like Eugene EmComm. And so there's a flow to how the messages come in. And that's why they're so important from step 1 of the damage assessment teams. They're making notes of the time they assess this circumstance. And then the ham or the district net is making a note of when they received that message on the log, but their job is to transcribe that information, because ideally in the end, you want all those forms to be together. For liability's sake, you want to show how it flowed. It's a great way to assess efficiency of messages coming through the channels, but it also helps with liability of saying, okay, this is what the damage assessment team found, and did that information carry through all the way properly for the triage of the city of Eugene? They have to triage the emergencies. So like Andy was saying, if somebody dies, and tries to sue us, we want to have as much of those, pieces of information staying where they're supposed to be through the channels. And some of those will change, like he said, but most of it stays consistently the same. I don't know if that brings clarification or confusion, so.
Let's get to
Or
Mike.
or I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Let's get to Mike. Mike had his hand up as well early on. Go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to report a couple issues we had in Northeast. As you may have noticed, I think there was some confusion on the fact that we were using our UHF for internal communications as opposed to the 146.88. So I know that I don't think Chris was monitoring for a while. I happen to have 2 radios on, so I noticed it, but I think it took a while before we got everybody on board. We also ran into a very severe crosstalk problem on our FRS channel, and the radio team leader I was working with, he and I eventually switched over to our alt because we could not hear over all of the static coming through from a not quite complete communication that we were sharing on channel 3. So that the channel 3 proximity became a real problem for us that we had to solve by leaving to the alt channel.
That's that was a good test of solving the problem that you have. That's pretty good. And I agree with you. Northeast had a problem with the designated UHF freak, but that's why we do on Wednesday nights after we have our nets that we switch to our district UHF simplex freak, so that we practice switching over and being able to talk. And I noticed that some of the Northeast hams, they don't participate on Wednesday evenings, so they don't get that practice in. So when it comes time for the exercise, they're a little bit, they don't know what to do. And I don't know how to fix that other than say, well, you got to practice switching over to a different frequency on that. But anyway. Somebody else had, I know Craig had his hand up as well. And go ahead, Craig.
Yeah. The reason I brought the question up in the first place about the block 8 was it seemed like it'd be useful to have a record of who approved it at some other site, in case all the stuff from our site gets, burned up or who knows.
Right.
It'd be nice to have that record be elsewhere. But the paper, so between the communication log and the 213, we got a lot of information, but I think the process should be done efficiently. So I hate the idea of having to recopy the whole 213 just to add one more line of information. So, if we really need to have that additional information besides what's already in the communication log, add another line to the form. Let's make our paperwork serve our purpose and not be a slave to the paperwork and do it inefficiently.
Yeah. I agree with that. And you're right, Craig. The block 8 is they're the authorizing person for that message going out of that location. And so that's why it's there. So
and the communication log isn't good enough to show that for the relay points, though.
What's that?
And the communication log can't serve that purpose at the relay points.
The communication log has the person's name at the top, correct, showing, but this message, the 213, it could be it could be hand walked. It doesn't have to be voice. So if you hand walk it, or if you have someone take it from here to there, the message log, you've already lost it. So,
well, the log could be viewed as saying what information came in and out of this facility, right? And I don't care if it's radio or a carrier pigeon. This message came in. I'm going to write down the message came in.
That's
we
correct.
We ought to record them.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, if we do need to have something in addition to what's already in the communication log, let's put another line in the form and not make people copy 95% of stuff that's exactly the same. That would put a commercial company totally out of business being that inefficient. Yeah. So let's not do that.
Well, you could always just, I guess, staple another 213 to it and just and just fill out block 8
or something. Let's maybe spend a little time and figure out how to do that so we don't have to copy it all. Okay. And maybe Gary could staple his posted on so it doesn't get lost.
Yeah, well, that's something we could have a discussion. Maybe I don't know, maybe Wednesday night we could do that.
I feel it's important to make it pretty efficient when people are handling a lot of messages.
I agree. I think Nancy's got her hand up. Jerry's got his hand up, and Don may have had his hand up as well. I'm not sure. But before we get to Jerry, Nancy's over there. She's waving at me.
I just wanted to clarify, as the district net, let's say for now I have to have 2 copies. We're going to iron that out. But does that also hold if we have a radio team lead that's sending it to our neighborhood net controls? Does that neighborhood net control have to do the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it do.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, the only one that has 1 copy is the neighborhood radio team leader that originates that message. Yes. On that, yeah. Okay, Jerry.
Well, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank Matt, CNL. He was, as Susan will attest, you said it's time to send. And in the space of 15 minutes or 10 minutes, he sent 20 213s using WinLink. So I think we should modernize our communications between the districts and the EOC and support the WinLink. As far as Craig, your worry about copying, all you have to do is save and then restore into a new 213 and change the one field. So that's available and we ought to look into it. All the major cities around the United States are using WinLink with forms to support this process. KK7GAB, back to net.
Okay, yeah, it's a good idea, and that's something where I don't think that Gary for Southeast 2 or Don Southeast 1, any of the net controls need to come out of their own pockets to buy the equipment. That's where it'd be great if we could somehow, whoever's great at writing grants, to write a grant that each of the districts, 6 districts, write a grant so that there's equipment for each of the district net controls that have the WinLink equipment, the additional, whatever we need, the additional antennas, additional radios, whatever, maybe even a printer. And then also add in there the equipment needed for the EOC, since the FEMA or somebody will be paying for the grant. And that would be a goal to strive for. And I agree, it's a lot faster. It's a lot faster, and it'd be great for all the district nets to just go ahead and dump all those messages quickly. That
And
way they can spend.
by the way,
Huh?
you should know that the 309 is automatically generated within the WinLink software.
Okay, and that would be that will give more time for the districts to support the neighborhood hams. Okay, Gary, yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Are we all going to be using the same gateway?
The same what?
The same WinLink gateway?
I don't know. I think so, I guess. Jerry?
Jerry,
There are
what?
currently 3 different WinLink gateways in Eugene.
Well, that whole thing would need some discussion to think through different scenarios for what kind of disaster and what's working and what's not working. But
Right.
you could do peer-to-peer WinLink. You can set up one central one as the mailbox. So there's a few alternatives. So that'd be a good thing to discuss.
We picked shops because it does have emergency power, emergency internet, emergency linking. So that's why that's over there at the county shops.
So
Oh, okay.
we could try doing that at the top level first.
Right.
See how that goes.
Yeah, we were going to do that with the EOC. But many of you may know, or many of you may not know, that the emergency manager, Sierra Anderson, of course, she's no longer the emergency manager. So she was only in her position for about 8 months. And many of the employees with the emergency management that was at the Emergency Operations Center, big changeover, they don't have anybody, as far as I know, that has a ham license. So the EOC is quite is in a pickle. So that's why we did this exercise to go along with what was in the resource guide, saying, okay, you don't have an EOC, what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything? No. So the resource guide says, okay, we will be the EOC, so to speak. And we will just collect all the messages. And so whenever the emergency management can find a suitable temporary place to spool up a EOC, until that happens, then we will do the messages, and then once they say that where they're at, then we will pass it on to them. So that's why we did the exercise this way. And the same thing for October 19th, it's going to be the same exercise plan. You can do a pen and ink change on yours and put October's date if you want, but it'd be the same thing. Was everybody okay with changing the frequencies with the scenario that they had to take the repeater down because of problems or ran out of fuel? Okay, we kind of threw that wrinkle in there as well. Yeah. Gary, you're muted.
Yeah, that was fine. You know, the person has to have a dual watch radio or radios, in my case. I just had a handheld sitting in the back listening to both frequencies. And then, so I would be over here copying a message, and then I'd hear Andy talk about the repeater's going to shut down. So I had to respond to him. I walked into the other room with the handheld, talked to him, and then came back in and got back on my base. And so in the meantime, Joanna took over copying a message from, anyway, radio management becomes difficult.
Yeah, that's why I would really recommend that you try to enlist some volunteers from somebody, family, neighbors, somebody to help you out in the net control area with your paperwork and things like that to help out so that it'll be a lot smoother on that. Nancy, you had your hand up.
Right. About the change over to Simplex, I was really glad you did that because since I only have right now a handheld to work from, I've been very concerned about whether that would actually reach the EOC, and it apparently did not. And so I'm very grateful to Gary because he helped me get my J-pole functional. And so I quickly hooked it up, and then apparently I could be heard, and I could hear, I think Southeast 1, which I couldn't hear on the first go around, but I could hear Don fine on the second go around.
Okay, yeah.
Once I'd hooked up, so that was a good exercise for me.
It's a learning in progress. So that's why we do this to see, okay, what happens when this happens. We were having problems at North Kinsey as well. We kind of went down to one radio. So I had to go back and figure out why this other radio wasn't working. Well, it was working, but anyway. Nancy, you have any comments or anything from your end
One thing
on this exercise? Nancy, not Nancy, I'm sorry, Karen. Karen, I'm sorry. Karen, do you have any comments?
Well, I was serving as the neighborhood net control, so I was interfacing with Nancy. But we had a similar issue with our FRS channel where we could hear the Whitaker very clearly, so we just switched over to our alternate channel. But
all right, good deal. Good deal.
That was the only little blip. So,
and that was quite a surprise because we'd never heard anybody that far away on our FRSs. It's like, how did that happen? But I hear that there's a lot of radio transmissions happening very clearly right now. So maybe the airwaves were just too strong today.
And if we have a major disaster, it's going to be worse. You're going to have everybody and their brother that has a FRS radio. They're going to be talking all over the place. So, but you guys, you all did well by on your own going to your alternate channel, which is great. That's awesome. Anybody else have any comments? Anything we should do different for next month? Don.
Andy, one thing I had to do at the very beginning of the drill was prioritize these 213s, and I'm surprised they don't have a space on there for that. And your suggestion of write E up the top or P or R was great. It's just curious that they don't leave room for that somewhere. Maybe we could add it to a comment somewhere in the message. I don't know.
I agree with you. It's kind of strange that the 213s, they don't have a block that you could put the priority of the message in. But I'm afraid that if there was a block added to that 213, the font would be so small, it would not stand out. That's why I would like to, at the very top in the middle of the message, with either a red Sharpie or something like that, put either an E, P, or an R, and it's showing what that is. So yeah, Jerry, yeah.
Don, if you have my email, please send me a email and I will send you a copy of the revised 213 for Eugene that has a drop down with those three messages for
Oh,
priority.
that's right. Yeah.
So it's with a G, jerry@gbrown.com or KK7GAB@ARRL.net, either one.
But Jerry, that 213 is for WinLink, correct?
But it could still be used by
Can it?
anybody.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that just a fillable PDF form if it's not in WinLink, or what's it look like?
It's an HTML form.
Okay. Any other? Yeah, Nancy, go ahead.
Well, mentioning priorities, I would really appreciate it some Wednesday night if we could have a more detailed discussion about that. Because I noticed that right before I delivered my last routine message, it was almost identical to one that Gary passed on, and he called it a priority, and I called it routine.
Okay.
And so I just want, I'm sure that the EOC will straighten it out at the end, and maybe it's my best guess, and that's okay. But I just find that description leaves out a lot of possible scenarios.
From the, are you talking about the description on the from the resource guide with that yeah, that thing there? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Don, I think you got do you have net control? Who's got net control Wednesday? Is it Gary? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe
Yes.
Gary might want to talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah, so Nancy, I wanted to get a message in from the Whitaker, so I may have fudged it a little bit.
I'm not saying I was right or you were wrong. I just don't
know. Yeah, I'm just telling you why I did it. I wanted to send in 3 messages, 1 emergency, 2 priority, and one of them was from the Whitaker, so I wanted them to be on them. That's all.
Okay. So, yeah, so I don't know if Gary wants to have that for the topic for this Wednesday coming up for the net. You know, we could, if he wanted to talk about how the priority of messages, we could discuss that.
Well, I mean,
I can't see a thing, Gary.
People that aren't the district nets.
It's out of focus, Gary.
I can't see a thing, Gary. Yeah, Craig.
Yeah, just a general comment. I think it went really well from the perspective of our end of it. We had 8 fan people that were participating. We're all in Washington Park, and 2 people from Jefferson West Side also came and joined us to kind of see the proceedings, and they were sending messages in to Gary as well from our location. And a number of people were using their FRS radios and practicing sending messages. So we had net control. We had one person that was running the GMRS radio, receiving messages from the DAT team people that were standing, 30 feet away. And one message was delivered verbally, block by block. That's all fine. So people were practicing messages, learning how to do that, getting all feedback before. Some messages weren't approved the first go around, then they got approved later after they took another crack at it. And then Allegra Helfenstein was running the radios, working with Gary. And so we had a great session, good turnout, and a beautiful day sitting under the shady tree in the park there. So I think it was very successful for our group.
That's good. Awesome. Well, the October 19th, I was looking at the weather, and it's it doesn't call for rain. It just shows a couple of clouds. I think the following week after the 19th is when the rain comes in for like the whole week. So, but anyway, and it's going to be a little bit cooler. Next month's exercise, city employees will be at the North Kinsey observing how things go. So Susan, don't get nervous. So we'll have visitors.
I'm fine. I have one question though. So
Yeah.
If the poop hits the fan tomorrow, we've got all these 213s and there's no one at the city of Eugene to take them.
Right.
What do we do with them to facilitate the triage to our community?
Well,
I suggest we run them there manually if we have to.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to figure out first. You got to figure out where they would be or where we should take
where
them.
is it? Is it a district by district thing?
Yes. Yeah. If
so,
if
that would be nice.
like today's exercise and there's no EOC and one of the districts, or it could be Gary. Gary could step up, or Don would be the net control, and we would take all the messages. But you're holding them like we have at North Kinsey. I've got a 3-tier filing box with the top being emergency and then priority and routine, and then the bottom tier is messages sent. So all the messages could be holding there until you know where the messages need to go. If there's no radio to pass it, no wind link, then that's when you say, okay, we will have to hand deliver them to this location, that wherever they're located at. And that will be either we have to walk, bicycle. More than likely, you're not going to be able to drive there because there's so much road debris. So you'll be like that. So you'll have to find some volunteers somewhere that actually would take the message to that location. And then if you have to do that, you got to make sure that those volunteers have radio communication with them so that they can communicate with you as they transit there and back to make sure people are safe.
And go as more than one person.
Yes, you go as 2, buddy system.
And you might want to have a copy of that message rather than send the only copy with them. I don't know.
Yeah. So we should probably get some kind of a weatherproof containment or envelope to put those in.
That's a good idea.
Trash bag. I got that.
Yeah. So for next year's a citywide exercise, I'm going to propose to the city that they, in conjunction with us on the air, that they would also have a mass casualty event to where they could use the medical reserve corps. What is it? Medical corps. They got what is that called? Medical Reserve Corps. I think that they have. They're kind of like volunteers like us, but they are called out for medical emergencies. To where they would have like a mass casualty event. And then hopefully that the mass casualty event location would need a ham radio operator as well. So I like to propose something along that lines as well. But I thought today's went very well. I thought it went rather smooth. And other than Northeast, we got to get our ducks in a row in the Northeast district here. But other than that, I thought it was okay. Oh, I see. There you go. There's Gary's thing. He's got a big E circle. Awesome.
And I got a check mark saying I sent it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's going to become a sticky note.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? So everybody gets back to the ball games. Yeah, Karen.
I was just wondering, do you have a sense of what participation was like this year versus last year for dry run?
For Northeast, we were not as many. Cal Young was not involved at all, but they said they would be participating in October. We've had some ham radio operators or were out today because of recovery, medical recoveries. Plus, we had our problems with our radios with some of our neighborhood hams. One of our locations, Lake Ridge Housing Association, they didn't participate because the individual that was leading that, he wants to retire. He's like 80 some years old, and he's trying to get some of the younger people to take over, but they didn't participate at all. Quail Run is another another large housing place that didn't participate. So, and that's in Harlow neighborhood, so Harlow didn't participate. So that's for Northeast. I think you had a good showing in Southeast too with Friendly Neighborhood in Whitaker. Southeast 1, Don stepped up and he was there. So I think Southeast 1 will get back in the swing of things. They've had some change of personnel that in leadership in that in Southeast 1 Southeast District or Southeast Neighbors. They've had some change in leadership and preparedness area. So hopefully, and by October, they'll have maybe some neighborhood teams and neighborhood hams other than just one or two. So I'm hopeful that October will have more. But as you saw today, just what we had, we went to 12:45 or 11:45. I'm sorry, as Jerry corrected me, 11:45. Oh, but I thought it was good. We just didn't have as many as before. Past years, we had quite a few, and as you know, 2 hours really is not enough time to pass all that messages. But we don't want to take up all your day either. So, does that answer your question, Karen?
WinLink, of course.
Yeah, WinLink could be a game changer if we were able to get a grant that would supply all the district net controls with the required equipment and stuff. Yeah, be good.
About $100 a station, something like that.
You think that's what it would be, Craig? $100 a station?
Yeah, that's pretty generous. It maybe more like 60, but yeah.
That would just cover the TNC.
Yeah. I think we should have a separate radio and everything.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe. I don't know.
I think it should have the WinLink should have its own dedicated equipment for that.
Yeah, that'd be nice for sure. That'd be the Cadillac version.
Well, if we're going to go with try for a grant, let's go the Cadillac way. So it's no sense of doing it, yeah, I think go big or stay home.
I'm thinking, if people are interested in just kind of doing it on their own, you can get into it for pretty economically if people just want to, mess around with it some.
Yeah, I'm hesitant about people doing their own because I spend enough money on my own on this and other things. And so I don't mind contributing, but
yeah, I totally support the grant idea. But if someone wants to do it, sooner than that, it's not too big a deal to get into.
Yeah, and so once the city gets their ducks in a row with emergency management, maybe I can approach them with that. I've already approached them about buying. They take the turn and buying another set of EmComm brochures to hand out. I already told him. I said Jerry funded the first batch. I funded the second batch. I think city ought to fund the next batch. So anyway, awesome. Well, we got between now and then we got Jerry's here the 28th, and then October 5th we're at Campbell Center on High Street. And then also October 3rd we got the FRS fun night at Second and Chambers from 6 to 8, and then we have then October 19th is our next big exercise. Any other things to talk about? If not, enjoy the rest of the day and all the football games. Awesome. You have a
All
great,
right.
great weekend. Thanks to all of you.
Good job,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you for all your volunteer on this.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Andrew.
We'll see you.